Welcome to the D&D Fitness Radio Podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Don Saladin from New York City and Derek Hansen from Vancouver, Canada. In episode 28, we speak with veteran actor and Ray Donovan star, Liev Schreiber.
Okay, there's a shake. Thanks, buddy.
I don't have a shake. Can you get me a shake?
Yeah. You're in Vancouver.
Yeah. So, what'd you guys do today?
I biked both the kids up to school on 16th Street from my house on Bond, and then took Kai down to school in Tribeca. Then I raced over here to meet Don, and we did a vertical push pull today.
Okay.
Which was good, and we did some mixed in some breathing in there. Just tried to, it's one of those days where we didn't have a ton of time. We probably had a good 45 minutes, which is enough, but you've got to figure out a way to, with the programming, put a lot of the filler into the meat and potatoes, if you know what I'm talking about. So mix the mobility in there, mix in some of that abs and core, do some of those things that he needs to do. That's important to him. So, but you and I have been training how long now?
Jeez, at least 10.
It's got to be 10 minutes. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be 10, at least 10 years.
On and off.
How long have you been doing Ray for?
I think I met you through Hugh, right?
Yeah, Hugh.
Right after you did, whenever we did, it was right after we did X-Men Origins, the Wolverine.
That was the Wolverine one. So
whenever that came out was when we started.
That's 11. Okay. I think that was 11 years ago, because that was around when Amelia was born. Mm-hmm. So I met you right there. So 10 years, because I worked with Hugh for a year, and then I met him immediately after that.
Okay. And you didn't, from what I read, Liev, you weren't heavily involved in the regular fitness routine or workout routine prior to that?
I mean, I played football. I've been boxing on and off for about 18 years and did yoga and meditation and things like that. But I didn't know anything about training. And it was something that I think I had an attitude about as an actor. I think I thought, guys were always working on their body must not be great actors. And it felt like narcissism to me. I think I was kind of ashamed of it for a while. And then I met Hugh Jackman, who was just an extraordinary person. I don't know if you've ever had the chance to meet him, but he was like, "What are you doing?" I was doing this superhero movie with him, and he said, "I'm going to show you how to train. I'm going to get you in with some good guys." And at first, I was really hesitant. I thought, "Well, isn't there like a suit for that or something that?" And he said, he sat me down one night and he said, this is a tool, as an actor, this is your body, its shape, how it functions, and your mobility, aside from being a big part of your health, is an essential tool of any actor or dancer or person who moves or uses their body to express themselves. And I realized that I'd really been limiting myself by not learning about it and getting into it and being able to adapt. I think it's also probably true that my career certainly got a lot more lucrative once I started doing the superhero movies. So I met Don, and Don started to, show me some things about training, nutrition, and I just got into it, And I think it's like that thing with, it starts out as being a little bit of vanity, and then you push past that. And you realize that it's more than looking good. It's about how you feel. It's about mobility, functionality, particularly for a guy my age. I started so late. I was already in my 30s. I think I was 38, 39.
Wow.
Started.
He starts with this my age crap, though, which drives me nuts, because he just turned 50. Let's be very clear about this. And he's always kind of, and I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit right now, because we've been working together long enough. And we come into these sessions, and he murders it. So he turns around, who was it? I think it was John Krasinski this year turned to me and tells me about this Murph challenge. And he says that we're gonna do it. And John's got to go to Hawaii. So I go to him and I go to Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm like, let's do this Murph challenge for the SEALs, blah, blah, blah. And we go and do it. And it's like a CrossFit. I've never done CrossFit, but it's this CrossFit challenge. And it's continuous. I think you've got to do 300 squats. I'm sorry, you got to run a mile outside. You got to do 300 squats, 300 squats, 200 push-ups, 100 pull-ups, a mile. And I'm turning around at him, and I'm like, all right, we'll see how he holds up. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, he finished like 3 or 4 minutes behind me. Like it was nothing. He like breezed through it. So don't when we're in this interview right now and he's talking, I'm old, this and that. I want everyone to kind of laugh that off and ignore it because it's a sob story right now.
Different people have different ways of motivating themselves. I have a particularly neurotic way of motivating myself, which is I'm really hard on myself. And part of what I do is I panic myself into going hard as I can. And I'll say like, Jesus, you're 50, man. If you don't start now, you're never going to move again. Or, it's like, you haven't worked out in 2 weeks. Jesus, what's going to happen to you? And that's what it's sort of similar to my creative process. It's like for me, I've been somebody who takes things apart. A kind of glass half empty guy. But whatever gets you to the finish line, I guess, is what works.
Yeah. Can we go back and talk? You mentioned football, and I just realized that you did the Hard Knocks narration, and I thought that was awesome because I didn't even realize it, right? And I'd watched that, and I do work for the NFL. But, when you played football, and what other sports did you do when you were younger? What do you feel about that experience?
I love football. To be honest, I was just telling Don, I was sort of identifying with my son because he kind of spaces out on the soccer field. And I think that's how I felt in all sports. I played second base and the ball would literally hit me in the head. And I was not a great athlete. But there was something about when I turned 16 and Brooklyn Tech and being on a team and in particular contact sports, for some reason I responded to. I think it started actually with fencing. I loved fencing. My brothers and I all did fencing, and those kind of head-to-head kind of combat sports were always interesting to me. Speed and counter movement is something I really got excited by. And I think when I got into football and I was playing, in particular when I was playing defensive end, and I was pretty big for my age, that feeling of contact when you were clear, you didn't, when no one touched you and you had a clear shot at the quarterback was kind of that was kind of an irresistible feeling for a 16-year-old boy who might not have been the most social kid in the world, but liked to express himself with his body. I think of myself as a physical person. I think as an actor, I think of myself as a physical actor. I think in general, I think it's someone who likes to express himself physically.
I never asked you this. Did you know you were getting into acting as a young kid? What age? What age do you feel like you?
I did a play in high school, and I played Nick Bottom in Midsummer Night's Dream, and I just remember the audience laughing, and I thought that was about probably the most incredibly satisfying feeling I had felt up to that point in my life. You probably shouldn't talk about on your podcast.
But I wanted to jump into this whole boxing thing because when I was there, you were talking to Benicio about boxing training, and I would characterize our training as pretty low key. Like I saw you talking to him and like, this is really intense, and I'm like, nah, he probably won't do it. But yeah, I saw that you'd done the movie about Chuck Wepner, and I think one of the things that fascinates me is going back and watching these fights from the 60s and 70s. Like I'm mesmerized by those fights, not so much maybe the latter ones, but what has boxing kind of meant to you in terms of your training?
I just think it's such a dramatic sport. It's such a hard sport, and there's such a terrific narrative in boxing. And I think that's what first kind of captured my imagination about the sport as a fan. The lives of these guys, what they put on the line, how long, how hard they work. They're the same as any great musician. The best ones start when they're children, and they dedicate their lives to it. And they're a lot like musicians, the really great ones, in that there's almost a kind of nerdiness about them because they spent their whole life practicing, the really great ones. And I have a tremendous respect for what they put themselves through. 95% of them never make a dime off of it. and yet they give their life to it, that wanting to be the best, wanting to combat their own fears, their own insecurities, their own doubt in this incredibly dramatic and powerful way. When I got the first job was a movie called Jacob the Liar. I was playing a Polish prize fighter in that film, and so I started to train with a guy named Terry Sutherland. And I really, that was the beginning of me understanding how addictive sports can be, athleticism, and challenging yourself and pushing yourself and seeing yourself grow. And I think the boxing workout in particular really lends itself to that. It's very intense, and it's really you against yourself, and that was something I really enjoyed. And then, after I'd been training for about 3 or 4 years, the first time I sparred it was like fencing, and I loved fencing. And if you spar with good people who aren't trying to break your nose, it's a great experience. And sometimes it's even great when they try to break your nose.
I feel like that's been almost your true love with fitness, though.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, I feel even when you come to the gym, he warms up, he jumps rope real well. You watch him shadow box in the mirror. There's just certain things that you can see come naturally to certain people. And not saying he's not great at doing what he does on the gym floor, but I just feel like you've got that really special connection with boxing. Something that
such a huge part of fitness for me, and Don can speak to this as well, is just finding something you love to do. And that's the hard part right now. Like with my schedule, yeah, sure, we can train and we can get our shoulders looking like this, our arms looking like that, our legs looking like that, with mobility and all that stuff. But in terms of just feeling good, you've got to find something you love, whether, it's like tennis or golf, or for me, it was always boxing. When you were a kid and you played Got You Last, that's what boxing feels like.
Was it like tag? What is it?
Tap, and then the other guy's like, and you keep tapping each other back. That's high level Got You Last is what great sparring is like, and I love it.
But both it's interesting because you like the contact sports, football, boxing, and I had worked with some fighters and I had worked with football, and those are the only two things where on the sideline I felt this stress, like something bad could happen, but then obviously something good could happen too. I mean, is that what draws you to it? That kind of stress or that pressure or that anxiety that comes with it?
I think initially it was about fear. I think part of my fascination with boxing, I think every fighter's fascination, every person's fascination with boxing, is that tremendous anxiety about being punched in the face. And that thing that just stops you dead in your tracks. And then the first time you get punched in your face, you go, oh, that's nothing. It's like the first time you get punched in your liver, you go, oh yeah, that's a little different. But that anxiety and that fear and that, I guess it's different things for different people, but getting over it actually has a really calming effect. The getting over the anxiety of violence or a situation, dealing with a situation that feels overwhelming, and breathing through it and finding flow in the middle of it is really exciting. And I think the more challenging the activity is, the more satisfying it is to find flow inside of it. And I think that contact and boxing is incredibly challenging. And so like martial arts, the same thing. Jiu-jitsu, it's that you watch these really top level guys, they're just so calm. And it's a really terrifying experience. You've got someone trying to break your arm, and it's just about finding your center. It's the same thing that Don coaches me with in the lifting. He says to me, just smile, and breathe.
Yeah.
Smile and breathe. It's like find your place, find your flow in the middle of the thing, and you can execute it better. I have a tendency to bite down on things, you know what I mean? It's just, I'm hard on myself. I push hard. I want results. I'm aggressive.
But I think the one thing I really respect about you is you're very open to, listen, you're a dad, you've got 2 kids. They're the exact same age as my kids, by the way. Derek, they're both 11 and one's turning 10. And you've got to deal with a rough schedule. There's not nannies running your children around. You miss workouts at times. The diet isn't always there. I mean, I think it's comforting for people to hear this because everyone's under this misconception that, anyone in
This is the first time Don and I have trained together in a while, and it's just because the schedule on Ray Donovan is brutal. It's really hard. I mean, I don't have a chef. Don, throws me some supplements every once in a while and trains with me every once in a while. But it's hard. It's hard for anybody. It's just, and I know that, especially for parents and single parents, it's crazy. That's there's no magic solution. There's no.
It's tough to find time when you're working. You're working till 4 a.m. on certain nights shooting, and then you got to get your kids to school.
How do you motivate yourself to do that 5:30 workout, or find a pocket of time in the afternoon when you're exhausted, or you're working nights on Ray Donovan because everything's nights now, and they're throwing you out of a window till 2 a.m, and then you're like, okay, I think I'll go squeeze a workout in.
You got to talk about that a little bit because you do a lot of your own stunts and you do a lot of your own stuff, correct?
Well, I was really into fight choreography and all that stuff, so for a long time now I've been doing my own stunts and some, not all of them, but some of the stunts and fights on Ray Donovan, and I think this year's kind of the end of that. I think that might be over.
Oh my God!
They're throwing me out of a window next week, and I told Richard, the guy who's supposed to do my stunts, I said, "You're on, Richard. It's over."
That's it. That's so.
Well, have you had any mishaps? Like even in the movie Chuck, I remember him saying something like you were taking punches to see what it felt like.
Well, one of the things that I noticed when we were working on Ray Donovan, we hired a couple of real boxers to do the fights for us. And I think one of the problems with fights on films is that there's no contact. And what we're watching, what we're looking for is contact. So you can't fake boxing. It's really terrible. So what you do is, and it's terrible. I mean, you watch these fights, you see guys moving really quickly and their heads popping. It's garbage because what's getting us jazzed is the contact. What's so primitive about boxing and so alarming and so exciting is contact, and these guys working through it. And so what we did is, you find guys who've sparred together for years, they make a certain level of contact, so you'll see sweat pop off the head, but they don't hurt each other because they've been boxing. And Pooch Hall and I have been sparring together for years, so Pooch can hit me and he knows how hard to hit me, that he doesn't ring my bell too much, and you'll still see sweat fly off my crazy duck wig. But there was this one Bulgarian fighter when we went to Bulgaria to shoot some of the fights, Chuck's fights, who was actually an Olympic boxer. And this guy was just, he was built like a brick shithouse and didn't speak any English. And we were trying to explain to him, no, you make contact. You make contact. And he was like, yeah, I don't understand. Hit movie star, it's not good to hit movies. And I was like, no, you make contact. Watch Pooch. And Pooch hit me, and he saw it, make contact. He's like, okay.
How hard did he hit you?
That guy rang my bell.
I love it.
And we're in the middle of Sofia, Bulgaria, and this guy nearly knocks me out. I take a shot, and I'm trying to be a man about it. And I'm like, ice! And everybody on the set is like, ice? Ice? Like, what, in Bulgaria you don't have ice? There was no ice. It was horrible. And I was, so
good.
That was a mishap. There's mishaps all the time. That's the one thing about stuntmen that we should all know. It's unlike the theater where you're faking violence. These guys get paid to take calculated risks, and very often those calculated risks involve bumps and bruises as well. So
when you find a stuntman, this is the guy, The Rock did a post the other day I was laughing at. He said, this has been my stuntman for whatever it is, 10 years, 15 years, and he bought the guy a pickup truck because he was just so grateful. And you look at him standing next to The Rock, it's the exact same build. So, naturally, The Rock probably...
I'm not buying you a pickup truck, Richard, if you're watching this.
Okay, so that's the answer to the question. So Richard's been your guy for...
No, Richard's just been my guy since we've been in New York. I've had some great guys. Richard's like an incredible double for me. He looks just like me, except better looking and younger. But
as grumpy or not?
No, he's nice.
Oh, it's so good.
Do you guys confer over that with your stunt guy? Do you like go, hey, I think I can do this, you should do this? Like, is there a negotiation or a discussion?
Yeah, we always talk about it. And if they say like, no way, then I don't do it. But most of the stuff they know because of the boxing stuff I'm pretty solid with. But the falls and the driving and that's all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you guys were talking about fitting in workouts, and I saw that Architectural Digest piece where they're walking through your place, and I'm like, oh, this is a little intrusive, but you have a gym there. How often do you use that, and how often do you utilize that to just like get something in?
Like you want the real answer?
Yeah.
Is it just for show, or is it like you get in there?
This is what I'm talking about.
We haven't worked out in 3 weeks. I haven't worked out in 3 weeks.
Okay.
When was the last time I worked out with you?
I don't know, about a month ago.
About a month ago.
No, more than that. Month and a half.
No, I don't think it's that long.
Yeah. No, it's hard. It's no joke. When you got kids and, you're working nights. I mean, right now, my schedule, 3 nights a week, I'll come home at 3 or 4 in the morning, and then I'm up at 7 getting kids ready for school. So it's hard. You gotta be patient with yourself. I'm not, but that's my system. My system is I'm hard on myself, and it motivates me.
He's also one of these guys where it's like foot to the floor, 1,000 miles an hour. And so when it's time to prep for something, it's like 7 days a week, et cetera. But what I'm trying to explain to a lot of people, especially you, is fine. If we have a day off this week on this day and you have the weekend off, like we've got to start picking our battles a little bit. That's something that I think you're starting to do a better job of. I mean, we did it today. We're going to do it next week. You'll have a day off, and
it's an ongoing story. It's a never-ending story. Your body grows, it changes, and you adapt. Right?
We like eating hamburgers and doing.
I love it.
Cocktails.
Cocktails are good too.
As you approach 50, did you find your motivation, your body was changing? Like, did you have any of these issues? Like I've been telling Don, because I'm 49, and I'm telling Don, just wait, Don, it gets different, right? So
100%. I call it the pooch. There's this little thing in your lower abdomen that just pops out. The pooch. It's like it doesn't matter how lean you are. Pooch, there it is. That should be a song. Pooch.
Pooch, there it is.
Pooch, there it is.
Yeah.
You guys are scaring me. I'm already seeing the recovery.
No, it's true. It's true. No matter how lean you are, there's this little thing that just goes boop. And then
there's certain
the pelvis changes too. I feel like how you posturally, the first thing that goes on guys is hips and pelvis. They get tight, and I've always had tight hips, but I've noticed it really dramatically in the past year.
There are, I try and look at it as a positive thing. As I'm getting, I'm 41 now, and yes, you notice things that are different with recovery. You notice that you might be a little more sore. There are aches here that you might not have had in the past. And I think as a coach, it forces us staff to think a little bit differently. And it's something I'm actually happy I have to go through and I'm going through, because it's making me a better coach. That makes sense. And it makes me now a little bit more conscious about working with someone who's a few years older than me. And when it comes down to program design and just there's certain factors and variables that a 25-year-old coach is just, I don't care what courses they take, they've got to almost experience it a little bit. Does that make sense? It's like an actor. You can go to the greatest acting school in the world. It doesn't matter.
But don't you also think like psychology is such a huge component?
I think it's everything.
It's so huge.
It's like diet to training. It's like, I think psychology. But if you believe that if you're down on yourself and you get hurt, I'm going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt. I'm reading a book right now called Emotional Intelligence. And the guy's just talking about, even if you're in a bad mood, put a smile on your face. How just the smile immediately just changes brainwaves and your demeanor. And it's so true. You just got to stop focusing on negative so much in life. Right? Always.
I'm the only exception to that rule, but that's mostly because I'm a guy who's made a living off pissed off resting face. So,
but you're good at it.
And also the other thing is I'm hard on myself.
You're really good at it.
And for some reason, I get motivated by it. But I know he's right. I know that thing that just, you feel better when you do it, and you feel better when I was talking to a friend about this morning. finding a way to develop a good relationship with yourself and not to be too judgmental on yourself and not to be too hard on yourself. You know, give yourself credit for everything that you've accomplished in the 50 some odd years you've been on this planet. That's actually a huge inspiring and motivating thing. I don't do it enough. And I think that's, for me, that's one of the powerful aspects of meditation and fitness combined, is having that sense of, sense of gratitude and
Do you try to meditate?
I do.
Impressive.
Not as much as I'd like to.
I definitely try every day, but
I try. I make about 4 or 5 days a week.
Good for you.
That's good.
Can you get past 10 minutes?
Yeah. You gotta try it for 20, I think. You gotta try for 20.
Let's do a little challenge. Let's do a little challenge.
Yeah.
Meditation challenge. I mean, that's.
But don't you find it tough? Like even this morning, I tried to do like 15 minutes, but I'm like, okay, I got to get through this fast. I got this to do. Like, and you can't let that enter into your mind.
It's really hard. And half the thing is about shutting down that energy, which overwhelms your life, and it's like that kind of conscious unconsciousness, it's like where you're shutting down everything that you have to do. You're pushing it all aside. And it's just spinning in the background, messing you up. And taking that time to just try to stop it. And if nothing else, just listen to your breathing for 5 or 10 minutes is an amazing reset. It's hard to
especially in this city. People don't realize that if you're not from this city, you really can't comment. I mean, this city is just, there's a pace.
Yeah.
He's working till 4 a.m. I mean, there's not too many places in the world where you go on set at 4 a.m. and it's like you feel like it's 10 p.m. I mean, it's just it's an environment, it's an energy. It's tough to shut down. And getting in the city and meditating. I mean, I'll try and meditate at work, and there's like gunshots outside, and there's like fire trucks going down the street, and there's some pissed off guy in the corner of Mercer who has his hand on the horn for the last 90 seconds. You know what I'm talking about? That's pretty funny when you think about it. You'll hear this guy holding his hand on the horn, and he just won't let his hand off for 90 seconds. And you start getting around that, and you start feeling yourself, the breathing changes a little bit, and that's why we all have to disconnect.
And the hormonal stuff that's happening in connection with that, is it really, like, I never really considered myself a deep method actor. Playing Ray Donovan 6 months straight, I noticed that everything, I started to lose it a little bit in the last 2 months. And part of that is that you're asking your body to produce hormones when you're feeling a particular emotion that become habitual. And, I don't know all of the chemistry that goes on when an actor feels deep existential nausea or grief. But it does something to your body. It does something, I believe, to your adrenals. And that's exhausting. And it's important to kind of reset that and to tell your subconscious and your, your nervous system that, no, it's not real. You're okay,
How long does it take you to come back from? Because I've seen some actors go on
I've
set for a while.
I've gone days where I'm not sure
Who you are?
Well, not who I am. You just said the wheels are spinning, and you got to stop the wheels from spinning. I really believe in that stuff. Again, though, it's like, I also really believe that people are like dogs. It's like they're breed specific. Like, I think I'm a terrier. The kind of dog that just tears the fuzz off a tennis ball. And I think Don's more like like a pit bull. Like, they just want to play all the time, and they're like, if you open your mouth, they'll make out with you. It's that kind of thing. And like, I really think that people really are like dogs. And I have that thing where I'm just going to shred the thing that I've got, and I'm going to do it all day long until someone takes it and hides it on the top shelf.
Didn't you do voiceovers for a dog movie recently? Was there a
every day? With my kids, we have a dog named Woody.
Wait a second, I saw that movie. What was it?
It was called Isle of Dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I loved it. It was
awesome.
Yeah, Wes Anderson movie.
Awesome.
It was it was really really huge treat.
You got any new projects coming up that you're excited about, or stuff that you're hoping for?
Finishing Ray right now. We just launched a content development company called Illuminated Content with my pal Matthew Stillman and Hardy Justice, and we're pretty excited about that. And just, you know, the recovery and coming back from 6 months of Ray is sort of where I'm focused right now.
Is there anything, sorry, Derek, but I did one on the tip of my tongue. Is there any project in your career? I mean, I know you are, like when people refer to you, and it makes me proud because I'm around a lot of actors, but they refer to you as like a real actor. You're like a real actor. In your training, I didn't know I know so much about.
You know what that means?
Like actors and there's real actors.
I'll tell you what that means. That means you probably spent 10 to 20 years of your life making about $500 a week, which I did. I spent a lot of the time in the classical theater.
But it worked out well. But is there any project that is like on that bucket list? You're like, well, I haven't played this, or man, I'd really like to try and execute this role type of thing.
You know, people ask me that question. I really don't think like
you played the boxer.
I really don't think like that. The truth is, every role I've ever been offered, I was like, you guys are out of your minds. I'm like, I'm so not right for that, you know. So I don't have an idea. I knew that I wanted to do Shakespeare when I was young. I knew that I wanted to do classical theater. And after that, I would just continually surprised that people saw me as the things they saw me as. I don't really have a bucket list role, you know.
But do you have an idea where your career is going to go? Like as you age, and I think this is when I deal with athletes, it's the same thing. Like how are you going to, you know, do the next 10 years and you know, are you going to play more roles that are less physical? Like I watched Spotlight with my wife and I thought that was an amazing performance and, you know, quite different, but and she was Catholic, so it took me like years to get her to watch the movie. So, but yeah, I thought that was amazing.
Thank you. No, that was just a real treat to be involved in. A lot of friends on that movie, really great ensemble of actors, Tom McCarthy. And you get invited to work with a group of people like that. You just say yes. You know, you just sit around and wait, you know, for things like that to come along and try not to do anything too embarrassing. You know, work out every once in a while. You're not eating too many cheeseburgers.
Yell at me.
Yeah.
Yell at me.
Pick on Don.
Pick on me.
Oh yeah, I got Don on a triangle. I was wanting to make sure everyone knew that once. Don is a beast, and he came at me. Who shared the video?
Yeah.
No.
Oh what? Oh okay. So now okay.
I'm sorry. So, we've really gone off the subject.
There we go. So we had a. We wanted to have a jiu-jitsu day. We wanted to have a, and that was fun, by the way. Yeah. So we brought in that guy. He was Chris Raymond. He was incredible. And I've never done Muay Thai or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I got on the mat with this kid, and he was pretty tough. So Liev and I started play fighting a little bit, and
because Don could kill me if he wanted.
No,
I know everyone thinks I'm Ray Donovan and I can box.
I didn't realize
he's really an animal.
When I started moving around with Liev, I didn't realize that he's trained a little bit with this stuff. So we actually have a video of him kind of locking me up in about 30 seconds.
It felt so good.
So I ended up posting it. He's like, you posted that? I was like,
tapping out the 30-something-year-old guy.
I'm a 41-year-old.
It still felt really good.
He's got a bad hamstring, so go after his hamstring.
The hamstring's good. The hamstring has recovered since the stupidity. But you know, I was a little shocked and realizing when you get on the mat with someone who knows, it's pretty humbling.
Well, what's the weight difference between you guys? Because being heavier is a huge advantage too.
I used my weight on him. I used my weight on him. And he's such a bull. He's so strong. I mean, he's so powerful. And that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu, is like you use someone's strength. You take their strength and you.
Yeah, but then he rubbed it in my face after, and he was like, you know what? You're not that strong. And I'm like, what? No, it's just, I felt your grip, and I was like, well.
By the way, I'm terrible at jiu-jitsu. I know nothing about jiu-jitsu. That's why I'm so excited about this.
What was your first impression of Don when you started working with him?
Oh my God.
All right, come on, we got to ask a couple of these questions. What's your best Don Saladino story?
Well, he had a good recommendation from Hugh, which meant a lot to me, because I really respect Hugh a lot, and so I knew he was the real deal. I think that there was a mentality around team sports that he keyed in on with me that was really effective, that I like to be coached. I like to be, and I think Don can speak this better than I can, but I think he finds a different thing with every client. He finds what's their psychology. How do I work with this person? He knew I had a competitive side. He knew I liked boxing. He knew he got me pretty quick, and he knew I responded to being pushed in a certain kind of way. And we just hit it off. I don't know, pretty quick. It was, it was pretty apparent to me that he knew what he was doing. I saw his outfit, and it was like, he's also a solid businessman, and I was impressed by that. And it was onto a good thing. And that, that was sort of perfect timing for me, because it's right as I was sort of getting into all the Ray Donovan of it and all that other stuff.
It's been fun too. There's been different roles, and I remember when you came to me for Chuck, that was something that we didn't spend a ton of time on it, but I remember that was something where it's normally people are coming to you and they want to look like.
Yeah, you want a 1970s body. You don't want a 2018 body.
He's like, come to my office, I'm going to show you something.
I had a really good director on that, Philippe Filardot, a French-Canadian director, and he was like, hey, yeah, I took off my shirt because I'd been training for Ray Donovan. He's like, Mom, you can't look like that. And I was like, why? He's like, you ripped. You look like trying to be on a TV show or something.
But we needed him to move, and we needed him strong.
Yeah.
We needed a guy to come in just like, it's almost like sloppy. And I even remember, I remember everything about the conversations that I'd ever had with everyone. And I was like, okay, this is what I think we have to do. It looked great. I thought it was a great movie.
Yeah. He came by the set yesterday. They're about to erect a statue of him in Bayonne. Chuck Wepner. He's a wonderful guy. Anyway.
Yeah, I noticed like a lot of times you will work with Don, but then sometimes when I was there, you'd come in and you just put your head down and you just work hard by yourself. Is that just something you do occasionally? Like you just want to focus on yourself? And
yeah, I mean, once I've learned the basics, or, Don gives me programs a lot, that I like to work on my own sometimes. Sometimes I like to work with music. Sometimes I think these guys rest too much. Sometimes I like to go a little harder. And I can't lift nearly the amount of weight that Don can lift. But I have a thing where I get off on going fast.
He likes work capacity.
I like speed. Yeah.
He likes work capacity. And listen, we've got to play to that strength because he's good at it. And I know, and this is where like specific strength coaches, well, for this role, we want to get stronger. By getting stronger, we want to rest, 3 minutes. And I'm like, that's not, it's fine. It might be optimal by a fraction, but you're not going to see a huge difference on it. Fine. We don't care if you squat or bench 500 pounds. Like I need you to be good mentally. I need you to feel good physically. I need you to enjoy the workouts and actually get excited to come in. And I think it's great when he works out. Sometimes it's like by himself. It's like he's getting in the zone. He puts his head down. He go. And I think it's a healthy thing to do. But he knows I'm always here, and if he ever needs me to work with him, I always look forward to it. He's one of my favorite guys I've ever worked with. So.
Well, the acting things, especially the series is like a marathon. I know when Benicio was doing the mini series or whatever, 6 shows it was killing him because it's long, right? He's used to a film and he's there for 8 or 6 months now. And how is that? How do you manage that? In terms of
I'm struggling with right now. I'll be honest. Yeah. I'm going through a really tough time right now. Saw Don in the street complaining to him just about schedule and how tired you are. It's like probably had 10 hours of sleep this week, and it's not good for you. Just working too many nights, getting up too early with the kids. Nays in Venice, so it's been a little harder. I don't have my partner there to sort of pick up on the kid duty, but it makes you, if what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. A lot of times in the 4th month of Ray, the training will really drop off badly. I don't exercise at all. My eating's terrible. Drinking picks up a little bit. And it's just you go through these peaks and valleys, and you try and stay. You try and find a neutral line through it, or you try and find some consistency, and that's sort of where we are right now. Is just trying to get back on the horse. But it's something that I've known about Ray Donovan for as long as we've been doing it. It's a really, really grueling, difficult schedule, and frankly a character that I find difficult to play for too long, in long stretches of time. He's a very dark guy, and it's rough. So I just try to go easy on myself and remind myself that it's tough, what I'm trying to do, and stay positive, because it can get dark.
Yeah, well, I mean, I look forward to this upcoming season of Ray Donovan, and hopefully you get through it nice, and you get a few more workouts in with Don. But yeah, I've been watching you. I think I first saw you in late '90s in Walking the Moon, and since then I've kind of watched, and I thought you were Canadian at first. I'm like, this guy seems like a Canadian. I'm like,
a lot of people say that. Yeah, a lot of people say that.
So yeah.
All the Canadians, after watching the hockey movie, though, most of the Canadians know I'm not really Canadian.
All right, so I got one last question, Derek, and then you can ask one last as well.
Yeah.
Because Leo's been great with his time. Do you have one funny on set Ray Donovan story that you can share with us, or you just want to say no comment and we'll move to Derek's question?
Are you thinking of one in particular?
No.
You're not thinking of one in particular?
No, it's got to be one funny story on set. It's got to be one thing.
Oh my God, there's so many. You can never think of them when you need them. It's just that it's sad for me that we lost Paula, because we really feel like a family on that show. And I love every one of those actors. I've had such a great time with every one of those actors. Paula is that woman.
Yeah.
She swears like a sailor, and it just, I miss her energy. I miss her support. I miss her. When I think about Ray, that's what I think about. I think about how much I miss Paula.
How was she when obviously she finds out at a certain point that she's not going to be continuing? I mean, how does
she was devastated.
She was devastated.
She was devastated.
And I'm sure everyone on set was devastated too, right? And
totally.
she was a huge part of that
It's
show.
like, for me, it's like you're running a team, you're managing a baseball team, and you're losing your cleanup hitter.
Yeah,
that's how I felt about it.
Yeah, definitely.
But at the same time, to keep these shows exciting and to keep them energized, real things have to happen.
You gotta throw curveballs.
You gotta throw curveballs in.
Yeah.
I know that's not a funny story, but
but that's kind of the answer to my question. It's showing how real set does become, and it does become like a family. And I have noticed that with a lot of the people that you've acted with on
she
there.
carried me in that show. When I was tired, she would carry me. When she was tired, I would carry her. And it's like,
and you guys had a good connection on that too. It was special to see.
Yeah.
All right, Derek. Last one for you, brother.
Okay, two quick ones. One, what's your favorite NFL team? And then the other one is, how do you, as a parent, we're all parents, and my kids are 14, 11, and 6. How do you try to guide their lives in terms of sports, physical fitness, mental health, and all that? Because I'm constantly trying to balance things and make sure they're in enough activities, but not too many. Like, how do you balance that out?
Sorry.
First NFL team.
Yeah, sorry.
First NFL team right now is Cleveland Browns, but that's because I've developed this kind of emotional
What do you
connection.
mean right now? How do you answer that? You have your team.
I'm invested. I'm emotionally invested. I've been narrating Hard Knocks for HBO.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And I'm emotionally invested in the storyline. And right now, I think that's an exciting storyline.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm really looking forward. I've kind of become attached to Hugh and the guys and all the players, and I'm really impressed with them, and I'm excited to see what happens. In all fairness, though, that happens to me kind of every Hard Knocks I do. Is you get attached. That's why it's such a great idea. It's the same thing with the 24/7s. It's like once you meet the fighters, how can you not love them? Once you know their stories, how can you not be invested in their fights? I think that's right now I'm feeling the Cleveland Browns. Sorry, what was your question about the kids again?
Just in terms of your parenting approach, in terms of their, what you've gone through in sports, health and fitness, and you talked about teaching your son how to meditate. And how do you, as a parent, how do you manage all of that, especially with all your commitments and making sure they get some guidance from you?
I don't know that I know the right answer to that question. I kind of listen to their cues, and I don't know that that's the right way to do it, but it's the way I do it. Like I try to respect them, and I try to respect what they want and what they think, so that so that I can develop a relationship with them that feels honest and real. I don't know, though. I don't know that it isn't right to push harder, and I'm coming up against that right now. Should I make my son do piano? Should I make my son do soccer? Should I force these things? My mother forced me to do those things, and I hated it. But am I grateful now that I had a couple years of piano? Absolutely. Am I grateful now that I had some tennis lessons when I was a little kid? Yeah, absolutely. At the same time, I'm really trying to follow their leads in terms of their interests and support them, like if Sasha can't get his head out of the Fortnite thing.
Oh my God.
I say,
my kids are that game.
Do you want to look at the coding class after school to talk about designing video games? You're really interested in that. Apply yourself to it. If that really makes you excited, do it all the way. Do whatever it is, just do it more. But I am running up against a little bit of, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do anything except play it, or I don't want to do anything except dance.
I think there's a fine line, though. I think our kids are still at that age where they're just finding out what their real interests are. And I know 2 years ago, Don was like, I don't want to go to baseball. I don't want to go to hockey. And if I didn't give him a little push, now he's really loving baseball, and now he's excited to play hockey. So, oh my God, if we gave into that, I feel like you need a little bit, but never.
I agree. I don't know that I'm on the right side of that conversation, but that's the side I'm on, and I'm really watching it and trying to figure it out, because I'm looking at all these kids on the soccer team, and Sasha has a little bit of self-consciousness. I hope he's not watching this. He shouldn't be. I think Sasha has a little bit of self-consciousness about not being the best player on the field, because a lot of these kids have been forced to go to soccer camp since they were 3 years old.
Yeah.
And I feel a little guilty about not having forced them to go to soccer camp. And also, in particular, to be honest, emotionally, a little guilty about working so much that I don't have time to kick the soccer ball around with them in the park. But that's just a huge, you got to take the time to do that. You got to take the time to do that. You got to take the time to just go do things with your kids where you leave the phones in the house, you leave the iPads, and you go and you kick a ball around, or you play hockey with a tennis ball. That's just, you just have to do that stuff. And it's not even about learning a sport. It's just about developing a relationship and loving them, But yeah, it's tough. It's a lot of work.
Well, listen, man, we can't thank you enough for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
That's awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Great to interact with you, and hopefully I can get to see you when I visit Don in October. So
yeah.
And we've got what season of race coming up? I keep losing
season 6, October 20th, I think.
So we got some good, exciting stuff. So anything new in the season, you can't share anything, right? You have to keep everything.
It's in New York. I'm in New York. Well, raised in New York.
Oh. Let's get ready to watch this one. Derek, thanks for everything, brother.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day, guys.
See you.